Your pillars are supposed to evolve, my friend. Your business changes, your offers change, you change, your audience shifts. The things that clients are asking in a year or two are going to be different from what they were asking in year one. And your content should reflect that. Welcome to the Creative Bodega, a podcast about content marketing, Instagram growth, and personal branding for female service-based solopreneurs who want to grow their business without letting it take over their lives. I'm your host, Em Connors, and each week I'll share actionable tips, expert advice, and unfiltered truths to help you create engaging content, connect authentically with your audience, and turn followers into loyal customers, all without the burnout. If you're ready to simplify your content creation, navigate the ever-changing trends, and build a business that works for you while staying sane in this crazy season of life, then you're in the right place. Hello, and welcome back to the Creative Bodega podcast. This is one of those super fun episodes that I already recorded and that didn't get saved. Don't you love technology? And I kept talking for the entire 20-some minute podcast. I didn't realize that it wasn't recording. And it's one of those moments where you stop and you go to quote unquote stop the recording and there's nothing there. And you just kind of want to throw your laptop out the window. I don't know. But I couldn't redo it that day. This was 5 days ago. So I'm starting fresh today. I was over it at that point. But what I want to talk about is so important that obviously I'm back on the mic trying this for a round two. And this time I've got the other window up so I can see if there are any, technical problems. I want to talk about content pillars. This is something I am supremely passionate about. I've been teaching it for years, but I've really kind of changed my tune on how I'm approaching or how I'm teaching you to nail down content pillars in the past year or so. And before you think, oh, I know what pillars are, I've got this covered, just hang with me through this episode because you may hear something different because I really have changed how I approach these. And I'm going to teach you exactly how I think you should nail down your content pillars because I have worked with thousands of solopreneurs at this point, and I see the same mistakes over and over with content pillars. And some of the mistakes I actually taught them initially. So we're going to unpack that today. But by the end of this episode, I hope you're going to walk away with a completely new way of looking at your content pillars. One that is clearer and actually designed to help you convert followers into paying clients. And the best part is it's a lot simpler than what most people are trying to do. So let's get into it. I want to clear something up real fast because this makes me a little bit crazy. Content pillars are not educate, entertain, inspire. Okay. Maybe you've heard that. I've heard it a million times from people that I actually really respect as content creators. And, maybe it's just a different use of language or terms, or, maybe someone told you that or you've seen it like I have. And I get it. It sounds logical, but those are not pillars. Okay. Educate, entertain, inspire. That's the way that you're delivering your content or the goal behind the content, okay? And that's to make sure that there's value there. And I get that. And I absolutely talk about those things. You can educate through a reel, you can inspire through a caption, you can entertain in your stories. But none of those things tell you what you actually talk about. And that's what a content pillar is supposed to do. A content pillar is a topic, a subject, a theme, a specific corner of your expertise that you come back to again and again. And it really helps give your content direction so that when you sit down to make a post, you're not staring at a blank screen wondering what the hell to say, okay? So if you've been operating under the educate, inspire, entertain framework, we're going to put that aside. We're going to build something a lot more useful with your content pillars. So when I first started teaching content pillars, I honestly learned from them initially from the OG of marketing, Jenna Kutcher. Okay. I loved her at the time. And what she taught made a lot of sense. But her general idea was to have a mix of business and personal pillars. Okay. She had this whole workbook and I downloaded it and it was free. And it was pick 3 business pillars and 2 personal pillars and get posting, right? And for a while that worked. But as I kept working with students and clients, I started to notice something. The personal pillars piece was stressing people the F out, okay? More than it was helping. They were treating these personal pillars like mandatory content categories where they had to make posts about personal stuff and they had to dedicate the post to it and they had to talk about their dog once a week or their morning routine, even though they weren't like a life coach or something. And that just made content creation feel a lot heavier for a lot of people. Even like me, I just want to teach. I want to teach people my expertise, what I love to talk about, and I don't want to have to talk about my personal life on my feed consistently. And the other thing I started noticing is that a lot of people's business pillars were too vague to be useful, okay? Or they were their offer. People were making their content pillar their actual offer. And both of those things are a problem, but for different reasons. So here's where I've landed. I want everyone to have 3 to 4 business pillars. I want them to be crazy clear, specific, and actionable. And then your personal life, right? Like those personal themes or your personality or like the real life stuff, that can get woven in naturally, but it doesn't have to be a content pillar, okay? It more lives for me, at least in my stories, in my newsletter, maybe in my podcast once in a while, but they are not dedicated content pillars that I have to talk about each week and like check it off my list, okay? So let me give you a really concrete example so that this lands. My personal themes, or if you want to, yeah, I really don't even call them content pillars, honestly. Let's just call them personal themes. They're the things that are like genuinely a part of my life that I don't mind sharing about or that I think my ideal client can relate to. Being a solopreneur, being a working mom of 2 elementary age school kids, being the main earner in my family, having a completely neurotic rescue pit bull, Blitz, being obsessed with romantasy novels, really caring about health and fitness. I am a chronic pain sufferer and I do a lot to try to keep my body out of pain. And I love food and I love sharing recipes. I love fashion. I worked in the fashion industry for 10 years in New York City. It's just a part of my life. I love buying clothing. It makes me happy. Home stuff. I really love interior design as well. I also worked in interior design for 5 years. Being a lake person over a beach person. These are just little parts about me that make up my life and make me me. And when you combine all of those things together, no one else is going to have that same roundup of personal themes, okay? But none of those are dedicated content pillars for me. But all of them will show up in my content. If you're listening to this and you're a fan of mine and you hang out in my newsletter and you hang out my stories, none of those things surprise you because you've heard me weave them in here and there. But I'll be teaching about batching and mention that I record podcast episodes while my kids are at school. Or I'll be talking about Instagram stories and bring something up about Blitz, right? That, did something that made me laugh or drove me insane. Like he just started barking 5 minutes ago and I had to pause this podcast. I'll send a newsletter and open with real life moments from the weekend before, right? Before I kind of get into strategy. And that personal layer is what's going to make you you. It's what's going to make people feel like they actually know you. And when they feel like they know you, they start to trust you. And when they start to trust you, they're way more likely to buy from you. It absolutely needs to be a part of your content. It just doesn't need to be its own content pillar. So the question to ask yourself is, what themes are present in my life that my ideal client can relate to? And am I comfortable sharing that? That's a theme I hear a lot too. I don't want to talk about my personal life. My kids don't want me to talk about them. They're in middle school. They're in high school. They don't want, I am never telling you that you have to speak about something that you're uncomfortable speaking about. I will never say that. Okay. So you need to find the things that you are comfortable talking about. For me, solopreneur life, it's mom life. Those are big ones. And because my audience is almost always navigating both, it's something that they can really relate to. My kitchen renovation, when I did that, I talked a ton about it. It has nothing to do with what I teach. It's not about content strategy or Canva, but People loved following along with my kitchen renovation. A book I couldn't put down or a podcast I couldn't stop listening to that have nothing to do with my area of expertise or my new infrared sauna that I bought that I'm like so excited about. It does not have to be deep. It just has to be true to you. And you're not going to be able to weave these things in perfectly every time. I don't. If there's no connection or I can't figure it, like, I'm not forcing these personal themes. But every couple of days, you better believe that a personal thread is naturally weaving itself into my content. In my stories, especially, I would say it's happening without me even having to think about it. Because again, I approach my stories like I'm talking to my coworkers when I had a 9 to 5 before the big boss came in when we had our coffee. Like I talk about the things that I would have talked about then in my stories. And I love that stuff. And my audience seems to love that stuff too. Okay, here's the one thing that's going to trip people up the most. And I want to spend some real time on it because it's so common. Your pillars are not your offers. So someone will tell me their content pillar is like my one-on-one coaching program or my 6-week live program or whatever their main service is. And I get it. It's what you're trying to sell. So it feels like it should be at the center of everything you talk about. But when your pillar is your offer, every piece of content that you put out starts to feel like a pitch. And when you're not trying to sell, it's going to read that way. And people will disengage so fast. And what I want instead is a pillar that's going to create the problem awareness, the desire, and the trust that makes someone want your offer. So the pillar leads to the offer. It does not become the offer. So I think that's really, really important to understand. The pillar is going to open the door and the offer is what is waiting on the other side. Your offers should not be your pillars. So what should a good pillar actually look like? Here's what I want you to take away. First, I have really started leaning into and teaching that your pillar should start with a verb. This is something I started doing a couple of years ago, and it completely changed how my pillars felt. A verb in the beginning makes a pillar feel so actionable. It signals that something's going to happen, that your content has a direction. So think about it. Instead of just being, a content pillar being content strategy, instead it's building a content strategy that doesn't take over your life. One of those sounds like a textbook chapter, and the other sounds like something that I actually want. So you don't need a full, long version, but the verb at the front is going to matter, and it's going to really help make your content pillar actionable. So some more examples. Attract clients through Instagram content. Grow and nurture my audience through my email list. Show up consistently without the overwhelm or without burning out. All of those feel like they're going somewhere, right? Second, your pillars should be specific enough that you know exactly what kind of content should come out of it or should live there and what doesn't. So if a pillar is too broad that literally any post could belong under it, it's really not doing its job. Okay. So marketing to me is not a pillar. Convert your Instagram followers to email subscribers. That's a pillar. It's specific and it is actionable. Third, and this may be the most important one, every pillar should have a clear line of sight to at least one of your offers. And it is okay if the offer is coming, okay? So don't panic if the offer doesn't exist yet, but you know the offer is coming. That's good enough, okay? You should be able to look at a pillar and say, okay, somebody who consumes this content consistently is eventually going to want to work with me or buy from me because my content pillars all relate to or can be drawn a direct line to an offer. If you can't draw that line, the pillar might not be doing its job. Okay. Now, let me walk you through what this looks like for me. So you have some real examples, right, to work off of. My pillars right now consist of 4. There's 4 of them. And the first one is create content that attracts and converts. The second one is build a sustainable content system. The third one is design scroll stopping visuals with ease. And the last one is turn Instagram followers into email subscribers and buyers. Okay. So every single one of those connects back to one of my offers. Every single one of those gives me a clear lane to create content in. And that's it. It's 4 content pillars, 4 lanes. And under each one of those pillars, I obviously have like subtopics, right? The more specific ideas that can live within that theme. And that's where I get the actual post or content ideas. But at that top level, I've got 4 areas that I own. And when I sit down to plan content, I am not guessing. I am pulling from one of those buckets, thinking about what my audience is struggling with in that space and creating something that answers a real question that my ideal client has. The personal stuff gets layered in naturally where it feels good to me. The offer comes up when it's relevant. And that's the system, okay? Here's something that no one tells you about content pillars. And I think it's why so many people set them once and then feel like something's off a year or two later without knowing why. Your pillars are supposed to evolve, my friend. Your business changes, your offers change, you change, your audience shifts. The things that clients are asking in a year or two are going to be different from what they were asking in year 1. And your content should reflect that. I revisit my content pillars regularly. Inside the content coven, you better believe that once a year, our challenge for the month is to revisit our content pillars. I'm not blowing them up every few months and starting from scratch. That's absolutely not what I mean. But I'm asking myself, do these still make sense with my offers? Have I added offers where maybe I'm not consistently talking about the content pillar that would be related to that? Or am I talking about content pillars where I no longer have an offer that makes sense to go with that? Are there gaps? Is there a pillar that's not converting the way that I want it to? Is there something my audience keeps coming back to that I'm not making space for, that I want to make space for? That's the other thing. I got to just pause real quick and say that if somebody asks you something like, okay, I always tell people, oh, tell me what podcast episode ideas you want to hear from me, right? I'm always looking for ideas. But there are times when people will give me ideas that are a strong hell no to me, like automations. Like people have said, oh, can you do like a mini chat automation, or like how a freebie actually gets delivered behind the scenes? No, 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 no. Do I know how to do it? I do. Do I want to field questions and be known as an automations person? That is a visceral hell no. Like how I know is when I get DMs from people asking me questions about that stuff, I don't want to answer it. I literally want nothing to do with answering those questions. But when someone asks me a Canva question or a design question or a content strategy, I'm like so excited to talk about it. That's how I know. That is my gauge. Okay. So do not create content pillars for things that you don't want to be known for and that you don't want to talk about regularly in your content. But anyways, sorry, I went off track. These things they're going to change. And actually in June of this year, we're going to do a full pillar challenge inside the coven. We are revisiting, refining, rebuilding content pillars with all of this training behind it. I am going to do a training for everyone and we're going to work on them. All the members are going to work on them because that's the kind of thing that sounds small, but like could quite literally change everything about how your content feels and performs. And we are also going to do a mini audit on your offers and making sure that your content pillars relate to your offers, whether they exist or they're coming, okay? And if you want to be in the room for that, please join us. The doors are always open to the coven and you can leave whenever you want to. These are 2 things that are really important to me. The doors are always open because if somebody wants help, I want to help them immediately. I don't want to make you wait for 2 months when the doors open, right? I don't want to create this scarcity just to get people to join. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. Maybe that'll change one day, but it just doesn't feel good to me. And the other thing is, if you need to leave, if you want to leave the coven, you can always leave. I will never lock you in. I do not want to take your money if it's not a place that you're finding to be helpful or you're not utilizing, okay? So I just want to throw that out there. You can find all the details on thecreativebodega.com, or I will link the coven in the show notes below. June is going to be a really good month, a really good foundational month inside the coven. So here's what I want you to take from this episode. Entertain, educate, inspire. Those are content values, not content pillars. Personal themes, your life, your personality, the stuff that makes you you can get woven into your content naturally. You do not need a dedicated pillar slot for personal stuff. Your offer is not your pillar, and your pillars create the demand for your offer. That's really important to know the difference there. And getting clear on it will completely change how your content feels to your audience. Your pillars should be verb-led, specific, and all pointing towards something that you actually sell. I think between 3 and 4 is a real sweet spot. Inside the visual edit and the messaging edit, when we work on content pillars, a lot of people find that a lot of their subcategories could fall into 2 different content pillars. And I'm always like, just combine them. Just combine the 2 pillars. Find a way, because there's no reason to have 2 with a lot of overlapping stuff underneath both. Just scale back to 3, okay? And then you want to come back to your pillars. You want to check on them. You want to let them grow and breathe as you do, okay? All right, that's what I got for you today. I hope this is super helpful. I would love it if something clicked, if you shared this episode with a friend who you think it could help. Come find me on Instagram at The Creative Bodega. I'd love to know what landed for you. I will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on the Creative Bodega podcast. If you love this episode, please be sure to share it with a fellow solopreneur who could use a little content creation inspiration. And hey, don't forget to check out the show notes for any resources I mentioned on the episode to help you create content that feels easy and actually gets you results. If you want even more Canva and content tips, head over to my website, thecreativebodega.com, or find me on Instagram under the same name. Until next time, keep creating, keep showing up, and most importantly, try and have a little fun with your content. I'll see you on the next episode.